Welcome to this podcast. Is making me thirsty. The number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This episode 118. Today's guest is a stand-up comedian touring clubs and theaters all over the country. He's the co-host of two very popular podcasts. We Might Be Drunk and Tuesdays with Stories. You've seen him on CONAN, Comedy Central, Netflix, Joe Rogan Experience, and his latest special, Out to Lunch, has over 10 million views on YouTube. Please welcome Mark Normand. Mark, thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me. Not the stink guy, not the crook guy, Evil Eye. All right, that's one of my favorites.
Keep them coming.
That's a later season, but it's definitely an interesting episode.
Those later seasons. Yeah, we'll dig into that. So, yeah, and I'm obviously a big Seinfeld fan, buddies with Jerry, the whole thing. But take us back. You're a New Orleans guy, born in 83, so you were roughly, 6 or so when Seinfeld came about.
Yeah.
When did you start getting into the show? What season did you watch it live? Tell us a little bit about the history of the show for you.
Well, the TV was a big thing in my house, and nobody could agree on what to watch. My dad was like, news. You know, my dad's in a suit. He's pissed off. He wants the news on. And my mom wanted to read, and me and my brother, he wanted to watch this. I wanted to watch The Simpsons. So we could never come together on anything. And I would put Friends on or some, horse shit like that. And my dad he was so bored with it. He could predict every punchline and he could predict every storyline. And so he was like, this is shit. This is elementary. This is weak. But we'd all watch Seinfeld and everybody liked it. My mom's laughing. I'm laughing. I'm 8. I'm 9 and I'm laughing. But yeah, I mean, that's what really brought the house together. So everybody approved of it, and we could all get on board. And then we even watched the reruns later, but it brought us together as a family. There
you go. Good to hear. What's interesting about that too, you mentioned your dad calling out the plot lines and all that kind of stuff. That's exactly how I felt watching Seinfeld for the first time, watching all these TV shows growing up, Different Strokes, Family Ties, whatever it was, right? You get all formulas, what's going to happen. Then Seinfeld comes along, the jacket, the phone message. These episodes, season 2 are just, I'm 11, 12 years old. I'm like, this is just different. You couldn't guess what was going to happen, right? In the baby shower, Jerry's getting shot up in a dream when the FBI come, right? Like these things didn't happen on sitcoms where you're like, whoa, the main guy just got shot. What's happening? Like crazy things like that are happening, and you just, you never seen it before on TV, right? So
yeah, and the I always say the best comedy is when smart people and dumb people like it. Like The Simpsons is obviously a brilliant show, and dumb people are like, hey, it's a fat guy, he's funny. And smart people are like, that's a great joke. Seinfeld had that. I mean, they're doing Master of the House. I mean, that's a Les Mis song from a Broadway play or a Victor Hugo book. And then they're doing Death to Tyrants. They're making jokes about Hinckley, the guy who shot Reagan. I mean, it was pretty sophisticated stuff, but I didn't get any of that. I was 11, but I still liked it, and they liked it. So that's a testament to how good the writing was.
Yeah, it's interesting too. We always talk about it. They never grew up, right? That was their whole thing. We're not men, Jerry, right? We're kids, right? And you're watching it as a 13-year-old or a 10-year-old, and you were with George, George is eating on the phone to talk to a girl. I remember the first time I called the girl, I'm like, oh, if I eat, I'll sell, like that kind of stuff. Like they're kids, so you relate to them on that level.
Right.
And it's interesting too from New Orleans. So, as you're getting older, now you're in high school and stuff. Are your buddies into it, or is it still like you're kind of like on the outside looking in that respect, where you're not, tossing lines back and forth with them and stuff?
Definitely a little on the outsides looking in. Then you get to college maybe, and a few people get it. But yeah, definitely at the time it was maybe a adult show. So yeah, that was weird. But they're saying words like Svengali and shit. And I don't know what the hell's going on, but I knew this show was funny and I'd never seen anything like it. I love minutia. That to me, that's where the show is so great. I'm a neurotic weirdo. I'm not Jewish. I'm not from New York, but I still relate to the little things like, that was a bad hello. What was up with that hello? He's got greeting problems, and I would think I had a bad hello the other day, or the eating on the answering machine, like you said, little stuff like that.
So what was, I think about like first memories of the show. You mentioned your family gathering around. Like we've had, Fiore, a couple other guys. They mentioned like the Hamptons. Like what was the first, for me, I think it was the phone message, season 2 that resonates, Tippy Toe.
Yeah.
But what do you remember? Like which episode just like kind of, I guess, won your heart, if you will?
That's a good question. My favorite episode is the dinner party. It's a Larry David episode. It's full of jokes. It's basically like stand-up. Carrot cake, you don't make carrots into a cake. Come on. Black Forest, go, ooh, scary. It's just joke. But the one that really blew my mind was the roommate switch. That was huge for me because it had like that weird montage in it.
The overhead shot at the diner.
Yeah, with the spoon and the tearing the napkin and all that, and then them working it out on the sidewalk, and they're at the end of their rope. They got to order a pizza. George's like, let's take a day off. I love that they put that much work into such a simple thing, and they took it so seriously. To me, that was great. And then another one was when Jerry was trying to get away from Ramon. He was like, I got enough friends.
Cool guy, yeah.
The pool guy's like, I can't have any more friends. I don't want to hang out with you. That was crazy to see. Every sitcom's all about like coming together and we're all cool. And there's heart. And this was like, this guy sucks and I hate him. That was huge. I'd never seen that on TV.
Right. Yeah. That you mentioned a season 6 and a season 7 there. The male unbonding, which is early, obviously a season 1, which a lot of people poo-poo on. That had a little bit of I don't want to be your friend anymore either. But I got you on the season on those 2 episodes, especially the dinner party. That's easily a top 10. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Dinner party for sure. But it's interesting too. You mentioned the minutia before, and we kind of always try. I mean, O'Hara's whole thing, and I kind of agree with him. Obviously, it's not just his thing, but we kind of say like the show could have ended after season 5, right? After the opposite, I could have been kind of like that's kind of the bookmark, and we're done with it. But if it didn't end, so it's almost like the end of a chapter, right? So Larry Charles leaves after season 5, Tom Sharonis leaves after season 5. And then LD leaves after season 7. So it's almost like 3 different shows in a way.
Right.
The undertones are all there, but we're getting 3 different shows almost from, post season 5 to 7, and then 8 and 9 are different. We're fans, overall the whole show, obviously, but 3 and 5 are probably our 2 favorite seasons.
Really?
Flip a coin on them, but it's probably 3 or 5.
What do you got there?
Where are you at? That's what we kind of want to know. Where are you thinking?
I love 5. 5 is amazing. I feel like 5 is really when they were all cylinders running. But I think 6, pound for pound, I think best episodes back to back to back. There's the best run of it. There's not like a bad one in the bunch on 6. And they got a little wackier, but not too wacky. So it was just the right amount. And it was Larry David on the way out. So I think he was kind of swinging for the fences. So that's the Jimmy. And what else is there?
You got the doorman in that one. You got the Chinese woman in that one. You got the big salad in that one. You got the race in that one.
Oh, the race, the Rhines across the race. Come on. This is a banger season.
We talked to Duncan Meyer on the podcast. Yeah. Oh yeah. About that scene. That's a top. See, that's a top 10 scene. O'Hara will attest. I mean, when we went over that episode, that's a top 10 scene for sure. Really let your hair go. What are those canvas? The whole thing there, right? The Guggenheim edition.
Didn't take that long either.
Yeah, it's a top 10 scene for sure. I just don't know if I can plant the whole season there. But to your point, it is the bridge, right? Season 6 is definitely the bridge, from the season 2 through 5 to where it leads, right? So we're assuming, if we had to guess, you tell us. Is George your guy as far as the show goes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
100%. I mean, 100%. All day long. Look, they're all great. They're all great in their own ways. But that character with that actor, I mean, let's be honest. The guy seems like a nightmare off stage. He's a little pretentious, a little cocky. I got all the box sets. And anytime he talks, it's like, what I was trying to do, you're like, all right. But man, is he good in that role, and the look, the way he looks, and the way he's tries to swindle everybody, and the bereavement fair. Was that wrong? Was that wrong? Having sex with the maid? I mean, it's too good.
Now
The masseuse doesn't like him. He chases her out. It's gold.
Now that's Great George. Now there is Bad George. Season 8 and 9 is Bad George. Can you admit
Bad George?
All right,
good.
Not great. A holy cow, all that shit.
Oh, just like the
just starts yelling.
And he admittedly talks about that too. They didn't know how to write for him. They had all these Harvard writers, like we said. They lost the kind of the core Larry David stuff. But listen, we heard you on Nate Bargatze's podcast, and you were fawning over season 8. Was that just to like agree with them, or are you into season 8?
I think it has moments. It's like a George Carlin special. You know, there's 14 of them, and a lot of it gets a little redundant, but there's gems in all of it. I think even season 8 has gems in it somewhere scattered throughout.
The muffin tops, Mark. Come on.
I mean, look, I'm with you. It's not the finest hour, but I do think there's some jewels dropped in. Not a lot, but there's some in there.
Yeah,
it's like a peanut in a trail mix.
Yeah, listen, for sure. I mean, for us, like season 3, the episode that always just comes to mind is the Keith Hernandez episode. Something about I think that kind of just was a springboard for the show with obviously Jerry and so speaking about that, so Jerry does the stand-up comedy stuff. When you're a kid growing up with your family, like was that ingrained in your head? You wanted to become that, and on the show you saw Jerry kind of doing stand-up, or no correlation?
I mean, look, living in Louisiana, low self-esteem. I didn't even see it as an option. I loved it. I idolized it, but I didn't even, I was like, I could never. It's like saying, oh, were you watching Keith Richards and going, I'll be playing the guitar. That's what it felt like to me. So it somehow morphed into that over years. And then the idea that I know the fucking guy, don't even get me started on that. Like that's how long life is, that you can just keep adding new shit to it. But no, I never even didn't even cross my mind. It's like being an astronaut. Like, oh, that's for them. I can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, we could touch on that a little bit too. You're, opening for Jerry. I'm calling you on the Met game, the whole 9 there. But sticking to the show a little bit more, O'Hara just brought up the boyfriend, and we're harping on George just because it's so great. But our whole thing is always George behind a desk. Someone else is behind the desk talking to George, whether it's the bra salesman, whether it's Mrs. Sokol at the unemployment office, whether it's Lippman you brought up, was that wrong? Right. Whatever, Mike, I like to read Mike Lupica. Whatever George has to like start to kind of build up that kind of lie behind someone on the desk. I mean, that's George, right? I mean, that's who George is. As we talked about the later seasons, it kind of gets more a bit of and all that kind of stuff, right? But
it does.
Just keeping on the. You talked about the minutia. I mean, that's what season 3 is. I mean, we're talking. It doesn't get more minutia than like the subway, or even the Chinese restaurant. A lot of people like to talk about from season 2. I'm just, we're curious, like when you're done watching this, you're watching it live with your family, you said, right? But now reruns start coming on. I don't know what it's like in New Orleans. In New York, we basically, 11:30 every night, channel 11, we're watching Seinfeld reruns, and we're talking about them in school the next day, right? At what point is it sinking into you that like O'Hara just kind of mentioned, like, this is something I want to be doing? I know you kind of touched on it, but I'm curious, like, was it stand up, or was it, the show that kind of hooked you on comedy? Does that make sense? Is it stand-up comedy, or is it comedic television that's kind of where your mind's going?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously the show is like the stand-up is great. He's a legendary stand-up, but the show might be superior just because it's so groundbreaking, so original, so different. And people still, you watch TV shows now and you're like, oh, that's ripping off Seinfeld. That's ripping off Seinfeld. Like How I Met Your Mother has a ton of Seinfeld stolen stuff, but the stand-up was great. We all watched, I'm telling you, for the last time, because that came out right after the show had ended. So he was like white hot, he was the biggest American icon. But the show, I just loved the show. The show meant a lot to me. But stand-up, I saw him doing the HBO special, but I was like, I looked at it more as like, maybe I'll just be like like a jam band. I'll just be like a little, comic who does it for fun. I never thought it would go anywhere really.
Right.
So
it's interesting.
Two different planets.
Yeah, we're talking a little bit of stand-up now. We've had a lot of the writers of Seinfeld on. Most notably, Tom Leopold was just talked to us recently, and a lot of these writers, they talk about the story is the big thing for them. Like we're talking as fans, we're always talking lines. Like, wow, that was a great line. That was a great line. That joke was great. But for them, it's all about a story. Like they have to come up with these stories all the time. They're thinking about their real lives, what stories happen, that kind of thing, right? And I kind of was trying to equate that to stand up, where you're writing jokes, right? You have a punchline, like your joke about the earphones, right? I forgot my earphones in my own head, and then you kind of end it with the sleeping part, right? And I could sleep on a gravel road,
right?
But that's the joke, right? I can sleep on a gravel road, right? But you tell the whole story leading up to that.
Yes.
That's
a great call.
So where is your mind? My question is, where does your mind start? Does your mind start with that joke with the gravel road, or and then fill in the story? Or are you saying, I got a great story, how do I end it with a punchline? I mean, just generally speaking, sort of ish.
It's a good question. I think it starts almost like a meal. Like, all right, you're like, I want to have a steak tonight. Then you want the salad with it. Do you want broccolini? Do you want mashed potatoes? Whatever the hell. Do you want gravy on top of the steak? Do you want it to have a whatever? I don't know. So I think I can't sleep is the steak. All right, that's where I'm at. Now let's build around it. And if you want a full meal, which is a joke, all the steak is a premise. But if you want the full meal, you got to write the punchlines, and that's the hard part. So once you got that premise, and actually the more broad the premise is, the harder it is to write a joke about it. Like not being able to sleep, that's pretty vague. That's hard. If it's specific, it's easier to write the joke. So that's just something that's been noodling in my brain. Like, I can't sleep. How do I make this funny? A lot of people can't sleep. They bitch about it. It's not funny. So making it funny is the hard part. So you need both. You need the story and you need the lines. But if you could just have the story, but now you're just writing NYPD Blue, like now it's not a comedy show. So you need both. But I don't know if that answers your question, but the lines I feel like the lines in Seinfeld are more important.
So, being a stand-up, you're out there on an island, like you sink or swim on your own. I think the beauty of Seinfeld was the collaboration and for us, like, and we've talked to 70 guest stars now, like they shine, right? You're a season 6 guy, so I'm assuming you're like a Katya guy. I'm trying to think who are some of your favorite guest stars across the board throughout the years.
I mean, you hate to be a hack, but you can't do much better than Putty.
Really? Putty guy, okay, a Putty guy.
Wow, love Putty.
I do love Putty.
But he's later.
Yeah, he's later. I know.
Exactly. There's a little bit there with Putty but Putty is a great character.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he is in the later episodes where it's not really utilizing. I don't know. You can't go wrong with Putty. I agree with that. I mean, no one's going to say no to Putty, right? But a lot of people jump on Bookman. A lot of people jump on the Moyle from the Briss.
Moyle's up there. He's up there with best character actor.
Jimmy's
that guy
great.
Murdered that part.
We mentioned Duncan earlier. Obviously the Costanzas. Everyone loves the parents. You can't go wrong with the parents.
Yeah, who was funny is I mean, George's dad is unbeatable, but who was funny was that Asian guy who runs Hop Sings. That guy was fucking great. The Moyle was great. And
I prefer Ping.
Ping wasn't bad. Obviously, Newman's a killer, but I would call him a character in the show. I wouldn't call him a guest star.
Right.
Peterman was good, but again, later.
Yeah, but he was a friend of the show. But he's a great character.
Ken Banya.
Vandy's great. Yeah, again late, but I feel like they relied on these guys a little more.
Yeah, I mean, you're a
Brought 'em
season
back.
6 guy. Season 6, one of the all-time best for me is the Doorman with Larry Miller.
Larry Miller.
Larry Miller
Yeah,
played
yeah.
that real well. I'm just a doorman, huh? Like that was he played that real well.
He nailed it. They're like best friends in real life
Yeah,
too. So
yeah, he was
that's
runner up for
fun.
George, as the story goes, I guess.
That's
right.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So Mark, you know your podcast, you enlist. I know you reference Seinfeld kind of pretty much the whole time. I mean, but you also note that your a lot of younger fans don't get it. Does that
Right.
does that? I mean, listen, it bothers us that people think 8 and 9 are the best thing since sliced bread. But I guess to each their own. But obviously, when the core of your show is making these references and these funny lines, it's a little frustrating that they'll get it. So how do you educate these guys on the show?
Well, we're lucky in the fact that the show seems to keep living on. I mean, not only does it come on reruns 4 times a day, but now it's on Netflix, and it was on Hulu before that. So it's kind of has this resurgence all the time, and it still holds up. Like, even though there's no cell phones, there's no Twitter jokes, there's no Tinder online dating stuff, it still holds up. There's still people making modern Seinfeld. What would Seinfeld be like today? So I'm hoping people get it. And much like I said before, I didn't know who Hinckley was, but the joke still hit, and I still got through the show as an 11-year-old. So I think it's okay. I think it can be done. Not everybody's going to get every reference, but I got kids on the street going, "It's all pipes," and I can tell they've never seen the show. So it finds its way of working itself out, but it does worry me that we might look like lunatics just saying, look to the cookie, and they're like, what the hell are they talking about? So,
right. I mean, I'm sure you're doing it for yourself though, at that point, right?
Yeah.
Making each other laugh. Yeah.
Let me just say this. We're talking character actors. One honorable mention I forgot to throw out is Elaine's roommate was good.
Oh yeah. We talked to her too. The redhead. Yeah. Oh yeah. You're talking about
Siobhan Fallon. Yeah. Oh, she's
Fallon. Yeah, we talked to Siobhan. Yeah, she's awesome.
SNL, the whole thing.
She was great. Toby with the
Toby
pinky toe.
Vienna Cox.
You did?
Yeah. She was great.
Wow. She killed it. Yeah, Toby was great. And I had one more. And the guy who drove the black town car with the deaf woman.
Metallica.
Yeah.
Metallica.
Yeah. That guy. He was
Are you a Lloyd Braun 1 or Lloyd Braun 2 guy?
I like 1.
Yes.
We talked to him too.
All right.
It's a shame.
He could. Yeah. He was from Canada. He couldn't get a visa or some nonsense to get back. So they got the guy from Police Academy.
Holy
he was
shit.
supposed to be there. Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah. It's a shame too, because he's great, man.
He was great.
He was
Your
so
arm
much
goes
fun.
like this.
I mean, that's great, George, right there. The desk with the doctor. He's like, it's a mystery, I guess. Actually, no, it's not. But the doctor just like shuts it right down. It's like, I just think he made it up.
I love that George will never break. Like if you have
never.
him up, it's like Amber Heard. You got him up against it. You're caught in a lie, and he'll never cave.
Right.
I love that. He's a piece of shit. He's selfish, but he has some scruples where he's like, I'm not backing down.
Yeah, the first inkling of that in my mind was the visa when he goes, the door. Why would I use the door? The window's right there. When she's like, how'd you go out and get to spill the stuff all over the IQ test?
Yes.
And he just doesn't even break. He's just like, the door. Why would I use the door? The window's right there. When I first heard him say that, man, that's when you knew that's Costanza. That's who
the king. Like I don't know that I'm an idiot. I know my alleys. I mean, there's so many great lines. It's too good. You ever feel like you got a haircut? You didn't?
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Another hot topic, Elaine. What's your take on Elaine? I mean, for me personally, when she loses the poof, I'm done with her. Like she listen. She became a little too like George became a different character in these later years. I don't know.
Leather jacket. All of a sudden,
I had a soft spot for like cutesy Elaine, and even the Mr. Pitt stuff. Season 6, I enjoyed.
Interesting.
When she became that bossy like Peterman type and the stupid dancing, again, you see where we're leading.
The Mexican restaurant one, forget it. One of the worst episodes of all time. Her dancing around.
That was bad. That was bad.
Horrible,
yeah.
Horrible. They ruin her.
Yeah, I never really thought about it. I was so in love with her that, and she looked so much hotter in the later seasons with the long hair, without the
hot's
boot.
not funny. You know, hot's not. I mean,
of course,
hey, Mark, rewatch the Jimmy episode.
Okay, I know.
Yeah,
well.
she's smoking in the Jimmy. Actually, that's with the
JFK Jr.
JFK Jr. Too. Yeah.
But what about I mentioned the bisque?
She turns it on. You don't think she put asses in the seats? That's when she turns it on with Dalrymple.
Right. That's right. Yeah, ketchup. But
well, you just brought up yada yada.
Yeah.
Well, listen,
and we love Peter, the show.
Peter Melman, he wrote it.
I love the sincerity of this.
And even Melman says, he didn't think that was the big joke that was going to take off. He thought that the anti-death type stuff was funnier. I agree.
Yeah.
But at that 7, 8, 9, it becomes all about these like kitschy little catchphrases and not about fun anymore. Right. So like yada yada. I get it, but
I agree, but sometimes the catchphrases weren't catchphrases. We made them catchphrases. That's how good they were. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, they pushed that on us a few times, but that's a good line.
Great line. Well, the yada yada, they were Melman told Suzanne Cryer, this is going to be a big show. We're like the network's putting money behind it, essentially promoting the hell out of it, blah blah blah, to create catchphrases. Which again, this is Larry's leaving. Well, actually, let's get into Larry a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about a little Curb. I know, is Curb does Curb trump Seinfeld for you? I got the sense it might, but I'd like to get your take on that. While we got you here.
I love Larry. Larry David's like my all-time number one hero guy. Him and Norm Macdonald, maybe. But Larry David, I gotta say, Curb is good, but I think it misses more than Seinfeld. Curb is like a great comic who's just throwing a bunch of shit out there, and you're like, that was good. But Seinfeld is like a honed, worked out. Everything is perfect, and so as much as Seinfeld is more mainstream and cleaner, and Curb is like loosey-goosey punk rock on HBO, we can do whatever we want, I got to go Seinfeld at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that, and that's a great assessment. The way it's kind of like we were talking about before, the way I look at Curb is, they're ad-libbing a lot of all that, right? So it's not honed jokes that they wrote, so it can miss. And when it misses, like Curb has the premise down all the time.
All the time.
This is the greatest premise ever, right? Harry's going to go in. This is going to happen. But now they got to make it work. It's got to hit every time. And it's like, it doesn't always, like you said, it sometimes misses. Whereas Jerry, they're writing that and they're making sure it's perfect every time. So,
right. So Curb has the ability to catch lightning in a bottle. Oh my God, this is unwritten. Like this happened just magically. But it can all, if you're looking for lightning in a bottle, you're not gonna get it a lot of times. That's why it's lightning in a bottle.
Did you audition for Curb, or did I miss that? I thought I heard you talk about that. Was that nothing you could bring up, or what's going on? What happened?
I did, and I've auditioned for 9 million things, 1 million self-tapes. I've never gotten one thing, not one. And I auditioned for Curb, and for some reason I got in my head like, hey, I know Jerry. It'll come through that I want to be on the show so badly. He's my idol. But I didn't get on it, and it crushed me. And I know the guy who got on it.
Oh, man. But LD wasn't involved in your audition then?
Say it again?
Was Larry involved in your audition?
No, it was a self-tape I shot in New York, and I sent it out to LA. But he's doing another season, so I got another shot maybe.
All right, man.
So who was the guy that got it?
This guy, John Rudninsky.
Okay, yeah.
He's such a better actor than I am. Like, I didn't know how big the part was. I thought I was auditioning for like a... like I'm the guy at the supermarket who says something stupid and he makes fun of me. But I was actually auditioning for like a character in the show, which might have been out of my pay grade.
You mentioned, I know Jerry. So we were remiss if we didn't bring it up. We don't go too deep into it, but the relationship with Jerry, I don't know. Are you glad it happened? Are you glad he called you out on that Met game? I
want to know who is the best young up-and-coming comic that we should keep our eyes on.
There's a young guy out there named Mark Norman. who has not broken yet, but I have met and I've talked to, and the guys I look for are the hardcore crazy guys. That when I talk to them about Buddy Hackett, they know who I'm talking about, or Rickles, or they know the history, they know Klein, they know the heritage of the profession. And Mark Norman is one of those guys, so I like him. Keep an eye out.
I know it didn't have any huge impact, but now it's like you're bombarded with these questions all the time about, hey, do you talk to Jerry? Does he text you? Like, it's get annoying, or you still like glad?
I think it's such a insane thing that I know this guy that I'm so glad. And look, if I get canceled, if I get killed, if I get run over tomorrow, I have that video clip of him going, hey, I like this new comic, Mark Norman. Like, you can't take that away from me. You can take my career away. You can take my wife away, my kids, my dick, whatever you want. I got that forever. So, and I met the guy. I hung out with the guy. I had pizza with him and wine, and we talked comedy and shop, and I wouldn't change anything for the world. So, of course, I love that happened. And I want more of it to happen, but I'm too scared to bug him.
He's untouchable. All right. I mean, no one is critical of this guy. It's right. Like,
no.
I feel like comics, when I watch a lot of these podcasts, a lot of these comics, they in your generation, a lot of them do take some digs. They don't. He's not risky enough. When you hear his Maron interview, like Maron was even trying to dig at him. I like how he came back with Maron. Funny's funny. Like, that's the hard part. Being funny is what he basically told Maron. Like, you don't need to get to know me. I don't need to be edgy. I'm funny. Period. That's it.
I completely agree.
Shut him up, which I liked. But.
Yeah, completely. I hate this whole thing where comics have to be truth tellers and and edgy and push the line. Like, yeah, you can, but you don't have to. And why would we want to put ourselves in a box?
Right.
Sorry.
No. Your number one job is to be funny, and that's why.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. You talk about you're in the green room with Jerry. You're eating that pizza with Jerry, right? Obviously, your mind's blown, like you said.
Yeah.
But when you do kind of get in the moment with him, and he's just a dude eating pizza, right? At that point, at some point it has to sink in that it's just a guy eating pizza who's a comic like me, right? It's not this, hero of mine, all this stuff. At that point, maybe, what are you kind of soaking in? Like, whether it was directly or indirectly, what are you learning from him? I'm sure you're trying to soak in every moment of those, interactions. Is there anything you're taking away from that you kind of have kind of taken with you, whether it's comedy related or just life in general?
Yeah, good question again. Boy, you're on it today. So I met him in a green room of a comedy club. He did a set, and I had to go on after him, which is a nightmare for every non-famous guy, because they don't care. The audience has seen, Jerry Seinfeld. They don't. Now I come by and they go, "Oh, let's go to the bathroom," So I happened to have a good set after him. He watched me. We went to the green room. And I was shitting blood. I'm just like, the guy I've been watching is right here in front of me. We're in a room, like a 5x5 room, sitting across from each other talking. He's got a Mets hat on and a T-shirt and a leather jacket. And I'm like, that voice, that face, it's blowing my mind. But literally within 6 minutes, it felt like just another comic. He's just a dude from Long Island who likes baseball cars, and comedy. So it weirdly dissipated in like 6 minutes. And don't get me wrong, I was still trying to be funny and likable, and I wanted him to like me. But at one point he goes, take my number. And I was like, And I go, I'll never use this. And he goes, use it. So the whole thing is insane. But yeah, we did a show together. Then we got pizza after at some like crazy hole in the wall in Hell's Kitchen. And I remember sitting there going, by that time we had done the shows, we had worked together, we sat in a green room. Now we're in a restaurant. So it was pretty normal. But I remember literally thinking, this will end. Absorb this, be in the moment, but absorb. And then we finished. I didn't want it to end. And he got into a black car, like a SUV, and he goes, you going to be good? And I go, I'm going to be great. And I walked 60 blocks home in the middle of the night, in the winter, in a suit, and just soaked it all up.
Wow.
Sorry, that got a little queasy.
No, that's
it's what it's all about, dude. You grinded your ass off for it, so.
I suppose he could swivel.
If I'm sitting there getting pizza with him, I would ask him something like, "Why'd you dump the girl who only ate the peas one at a time?" Stuff like that.
You know how hard it was not to bring up the show because
that's what I'm asking. Why?
Not at all. You didn't bring up what? Not anything. Not
he doesn't want to talk about it. Everybody. Well, yada yada. What's the deal with
yeah,
he doesn't want to talk about that at all. So I knew that going in. So I just treated him like a comic.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean that's his obviously his passion, his bread and butter. But
you meet Bob Dylan, you don't want to go. How'd you write Like a Rolling Stone? And he's gonna be like, all right. I'm 78 years old.
Interesting you brought up Dylan, because my whole thing with Dylan is I'm a big Dylan fan, but I became a big Dylan fan. I was about 20 years old taking a songwriting class at a community college, and I'm not bragging here, but I'm taking this songwriting class, and the teacher keeps talking about Dylan, so I'm like, I'm going to learn about Dylan. But I thought, let me start with his first album and listen to that, and the second album, listen to that, and go in order the way he released them. So I can kind of see the progression, right? Because Freewheelin' Dylan is way different than Highway 61 Dylan, like a Rolling Stone, right? So you kind of have to know that, or you're not going to. So that's kind of my point too with Seinfeld, where we hear these people who are like, oh, season 9 is great. Season 3 is weak. It's like, you got to go back and watch it in order. You have to see what George was in season 3. And then you'll see how he changed in season 8 and realize that this is the real George. No, ho-ho is not the real George, right? So, I mean, that Dylan, I always like to use that Dylan analogy because it's such a, he's so prolific that things change right over time. And you kind of have to go in and as much as you can be in the moment of the time. There's no question there. I was just talking. I don't know. Maybe if you.
No. I completely agree. Had to go see my parents. It was like a date. Yeah, I know it too well, but.
All right. We haven't touched on season 4. All right.
Okay.
Which is great. If you say 4 is your favorite, you got no argument from me.
Yeah, listen, it's the only season with an arc, obviously the pilot, and then we have a couple throw-ins there with the Junior Mint. And
if you want to talk about a run, season 4 has some runs, dude.
Oh, yeah. I don't love the pilot. Sorry. The LA pilot, when they go to LA. I don't love that stuff.
The trip. Yeah, that's what's called season 4, the trip.
That wasn't my favorite, but the pilot, the arc with that whole
Bubble
thing.
Boy Cheever Letters Opera Virgin Contest Airport. Are you beating that run right there?
I don't love Cheever Letters either, but no, you're right.
No, the Cheever Letters, huh? Rewatch it tonight, dude.
It felt like a stretch. You didn't care about the guy. I don't know, but opera's great. I like these opera folk. I feel tough. That's great. Crazy Joe Davola. Yeah. And the Virgin is unreal. They're in the closet. He's like, I come from a broken home. Really? Your dad left? No, actually, the home was falling in on itself, or whatever the joke. I mean, I love that episode.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Elaine, sorry, I'm on a roll here with that episode. Then Elaine goes, she's trying to tell her about sex. She's like, man, it's overrated. Sex, their body, it's like a Jeep. It's for getting around. I remember hearing that line as a kid, and my mom laughed.
That's great, Elaine.
Yeah, that's great, Elaine. That's great, Elaine. And it's also, I'm noticing that you like Jerry. I have to say they're Jerry's, or probably not, but you like when there's a joke in there. You like the jokes in the show, it seems like. Whenever there's like a joke, which we're guessing is probably Jerry, doesn't have to be, but it sounds like, that's what happens with these scripts is Larry and Jerry basically, take a run at him once the writers get hold of them. But yeah, it sounds like, what do we got here?
This is a pin I have. Can you read that?
I'd rather be watching Seinfeld. There you go.
Yeah. Mostly Seinfeld stuff. Check them out. They give me a bunch of free shit.
We can send you a mug if you want.
Give me a mug. Mug
man.
Mug Costanza. There you go.
So, Mark, if there's you're flipping through the channels, Comedy Central, whatever, an episode comes up. Is there an episode that comes up you will skip?
Yes. And this might be sacrilege. This might make you close the laptop here, but something about this episode rubs me the wrong way. I've seen it 800 times, and I'll still probably watch it, but I hate the busboy. I'm sorry.
All right. It's not terrible take. I mean, it does have Elaine's great Van Wyck scene, which is, to me, Elaine's breakout scene of the show. But I get your point on the overall show. It's not, and it's your first George and Kramer kind of, your first connection. So this is my point about going back. When you watch that busboy live, it kind of blew our minds a little bit, where it's like, whoa, like it all came together. Elaine's great Van Wyck. No one to beat the Van Wyck. But as an overall, I mean, I can see a skip on the busboy. I'd give it another look though. But
the puerta, whatever he says.
Yeah. It's really that guy. I hate that guy.
I can see that. That guy is annoying. That guy is annoying.
But when he hugs George, I kind of like that. But anyway,
Yeah. But they give him too much airtime
with the pom pom. I think he wears the green wool hat with the pom pom.
Yeah.
On top of it.
All right. What's your thoughts on the soup Nazi?
Well, the soup Nazi was big. I know that's a little later, but I mean, mulligatawny. It's like I'm talking to my Aunt Sylvia here. I got to go home and get a big pot. Jambalaya. I don't know. That one, it's got the two gay guys in it that are the street toughs. I love that. So that one has so much for me. I know it's a later ep, but, just the idea that Spike Feresten, there's a soup Nazi guy that all the Letterman writers would go to.
Right.
And he made this show about it and it became iconic. And, what is it? I didn't get any bread. Just forget it. Let it go. Schmoopy. I don't know. There's a lot of good in that one.
I love the schmoopy on that one. Don't get me wrong. I actually like that better than the actual soup stuff. I love Ali Wentworth. They're so good with the soup. Two people sit on the same side of in a booth when George comes over and sees them. That's great. That's just great, George.
And then George comes in and they try to compete. I mean, that's gold.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I give them
so
that.
I'm on board with soup Nazi. Why? You guys not a fan?
O'Hara, I mean, I'll budge a little bit here and there on a season 7. He won't even give a season 7 any credit. I
respect it.
I like the hot. I'll take the hot tub any day of the week on a season.
It's like the
Ride, one of my favorites. Season 7.
No soup for you. A little catchphrase again. Like I said, gun to my head. It could end with the opposite. I'd be happy. I mean, but I think America, and this is what I think. I could be wrong. I think America, if they had to pick a number 1 episode, I think it's the marine biologist.
You? That's you?
No, I think if America picked.
Oh, really?
I think that's kind of the consensus we see around Twitter and everything. But I don't know. What do you think if you had a poll?
I would have said the soup Nazi probably, but
I think it's the contest.
That's a good question.
I think it's the contest for me. I think the contest was the episode that kind of just blew everyone's minds. This is what they're talking. It's first time you see his mom. It starts off with him just talking about. I mean, you're watching this. You're talking about you watch with your parents. This show is not my kids are 10 and 8, and they always want to watch Seinfeld. And I'll put it on, and then I'll be like, "Oh shit, this is the one where the guy goes down in a lane." I have to, So it's always there's always something that's very adult that you kind of have to, kind of worry about.
Critically acclaimed, I'd say yes, but for women, I think marine biology is a safer bet for America.
Right. And that hole-in-one thing at the end was that was epic.
Legendary.
Hole-in-one. It's a Titleist. Yeah, that was big. So. But yeah, I mean, the contest, that was Emmy Award winning. Larry David went up and gave a speech about being bald. So yeah, that was huge. I'm out. They never say the word masturbation either.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible how they did that with a lot. They handled everything like that. The writing in the this and that with the deal early on where Jerry and Elaine kind of get together and they talk about this and that and just George getting the tap. They handle so many topics that are so taboo, whatever you want to call it. And that's what's hilarious too, is people always say Jerry's not blue, he's too clean, all this stuff. It's that show was as dirty as it gets for a 9 o'clock sitcom on NBC. It's just so well written.
Dude,
incredible.
they had an oral rape joke with the Tim Watley scene. I was spitting and rinsing like there's no tomorrow. I mean, that's oral rape. They had the penthouses in the lobby or the waiting room. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh man.
there's no better way to finish than with Tim Watley, Mark. So we appreciate the time, man. This was
thank you so much, man.
Oh, hey, thank you. What are you kidding? I could do this shit all day.
Send Jerry a text. Let him know how it went. And Mark,
we're more than happy to come on with you and Joe, and you can grill us on.
Okay. I mean, have you gotten him on yet?
Bugging him, man. We're bugging him. You put
I'll
in a
talk
good word.
to him. I'll talk to him. He's with you. He's with you, Chris. I mean, you bring up 7 and 8, and he'll just put his earphones in.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Mark. Really appreciate your time, man.
Congrats on everything, man.
Yeah, congrats on the engagement, dude. You're gonna be able to say my wife has an ear infection now, so that's awesome.
We're getting married in India. All right, Pinter.
Thanks again, man.
Thank you.
All right, later.
Bye.